Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Moeller. I'm the board president of your HOA, and I want to welcome you here tonight and thank you for coming out. It's always good to see people interested in meeting our candidates. One of the things I want to point out is oftentimes when I'm here, I'm either at a board meeting or something else called the town hall, where it's more of an informational exchange. This is an opportunity for you to hear about the candidates, but our hope is that during the period, as Denise, who's the chair of our nominating committee, will tell you, it's an opportunity to ask questions of the candidates and kind of find out. We do have roving microphone people to help you with that. So with that, I want to thank Denise and her nominating committee for getting us a great slate of candidates once again. And one of the things that I'd urge everybody to do, I know you're interested because you're here. So I don't have to ask you to vote. I know all of you will vote. And I thank you for that. But I would ask if you would, in your social settings, in your neighborhoods, just to remind people to vote. It's nice if you get more than 25, 30%. It feels better. And we've done much better than that on our recent surveys, so I'm hoping we're going to reach that kind of a 42 or 46% level. But it's always good to talk it up. And also tell them there's another opportunity. The other opportunity is Saturday morning. Doors open at 9, and then the meeting goes on at 9:30. And also, back in the back, we have Cecil B. DeGenny, who is our video recorder. So we are going to video it just like we did last year, and we'll post it on the website, and we'll let everybody know with the last email. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our chair of the nominating committee, who will tell you the ground rules, and more importantly, what the ground rules for them is.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you everybody for coming tonight. We really appreciate you being here. And also thank you to the candidates for running for the board of directors. As Bob said, my name is Denise Nugent. I'm the chair of the nominating committee, and I'd like to introduce our very qualified and capable candidate slate that we have here tonight. 4 candidates running for 3 open positions on the board of directors of the HOA. We've got Sally Frazier, Chris Schwenker, George Spalthoff, and Ken Spencer. I wanted to just take a few minutes and talk to you about how the session, the format of the session is going to be, so you know what to expect. After I finish speaking, they're going to be coming up here individually, one at a time, obviously. And they are going to be giving their 4-minute or less introductory statement. After all of them have given their introductory statement, we're going to be going to our Q&A session, which is where you're going to be involved. We have, as Bob indicated, 2 microphones in the audience, and if you'll be patient with us and raise your hand, if you have a question, we'll come to you and we'll ask you if you could just identify yourself, tell us where you live, and then ask your question. What we're going to do is, to be fair with the candidates, we're going to rotate questions through the candidates, among the candidates. For instance, Sally will take the first question, and she'll have an opportunity to respond. She'll have a 2-minute opportunity to respond. And then we'll go down the line, and the rest of the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond. Second question will go to Chris. Same thing. Third question to George. And we'll keep repeating that throughout the evening. We've allotted about 45 minutes for Q&A. We probably won't need it, but we'll be here as long as you have questions. And then we also ask that you ask questions when you phrase them in such a way that all of the candidates can answer them. When we're done the Q&A, we'll be moving to the closing statements, and each of them will have 2 minutes to say their closing statements. We want to be respectful of your time, and we want to keep the meeting moving, so we will have somebody from the nominating committee with a sign that's a 1-minute warning sign and a stop sign for the candidates. So they'll see that, hopefully, maybe not, through the meeting. Other than that, as Bob mentioned, we are videotaping the meeting, and we ask that, if you could look at it again, it'll be up probably in a couple days, but mainly tell your friends and neighbors that didn't come tonight, like Bob said, or maybe aren't coming Saturday, to go ahead and look at it before they vote. And the bios have been in the Talk of the Colony, so that way they can be informed. Other than that, that's really all I have. If you would mind turning your cell phones off so we have less disruptions, that would be great. And we'll start off with Sally.
Have I got it right, ma'am? Okay. I just want to add my thank you to all of you for coming out to listen to me and my colleagues concerning our interest in running for the Board of Directors. I'll make this brief tonight. My bio with education and work career is in the January Talk of the Colony, which I'm sure you've all read. You might ask why I'm running for a second term. I did waver about running for re-election. However, I realized that I enjoyed much of the time I spent on Homeowners Association matters, and that after 2 years, I have enough background to bring something to the table. For the first 6 months or more, I spent a lot of time listening. Now I still listen to my colleagues, most of the time, but bring ideas and questions to the discussion and understand the issues. One of the areas I discussed when I first ran for the first term was that I attended as many committee meetings as I could in the approximately 6-month period I was running for the board. I'd like to emphasize that I've continued that attendance. Although I do not attend all 13 committee meetings every month, I regularly attend Roads and Project Maintenance, Finance, and Landscape Design Subcommittee. And as liaison to the Volunteer Management and Facilities Committees, I attend their monthly meetings. I find this is the way to be on top of what is happening in Ford's Colony. It's important for me to get as much background information as possible to a proposal coming before the board for a vote. I urge you in the audience to attend the committee meetings, or at least review the minutes on the website each month. There are a number of issues in which we were and will be involved. It is the intent of the board to improve communication with the community. In addition to recording the major meetings and putting them on the website, we've made an effort to provide more in-depth articles in the Talk of the Colony and issued a colony-wide satisfaction survey answered by 43% of our residents. An important addition to our communication efforts is Coffee with the Board, which was created by Ray Van Cott. This gives individuals an opportunity to have a dialogue with a board member in a smaller group setting. Another major milestone of the past board was the completion of the 6-year management agent contract. I was part of the committee and spent a considerable number of hours over more than a year in completing the project. George Spaltoff chaired the committee and did an excellent job of planning, organizing the documents required, chairing the monthly meetings, coordinating the interviews and visits by the interested bidders, and working with our lawyer to get a final contract. We, the board, have also spent time on the 2020 budget, eliminating proffers, development of a capital investment fund for amenities, drainage issues with Westport B, the continuing care retirement community on News Road, potential I should say, and the now proposed development of an area adjacent to Zion Baptist Church. So I go into, or would go into the next 2 years with knowledge about these topics, all of which are still on the table for us to deal with. As I concluded my speech 2 years ago, all the candidates are capable, sincere residents who want the best for Ford's Colony. However, I hope that you feel I bring experience and enthusiasm to the job. I look forward to working for you over the next 2 years to keep our community fiscally sound, our amenities in good shape, and our property as beautiful as it is now. I would appreciate your votes. Thank you.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I am Chris Schwenker. I hope that you had a chance to read my bio in the Talk of the Colony, so I will try not to repeat much of that information. Instead, I would like to tell you what I hope to do if elected. I believe I am knowledgeable, capable, and most importantly, have a strong desire to do the job. I'm aware of the drainage pipe problem. The board and roads and project maintenance committees is well thought out, and I support it. I want to help make sure the RFP and signed contract with the pipe contractor follows the same due diligence as the one just completed for the managing agent agreement. We need to make sure that we are protected now and well into the future. I want to help continue the excellent work for the Facilities Committee, who has been doing a great job at keeping our facilities and amenities current and worthy of being a premier multi-generational community. I want to assist the Volunteer Management Committee to secure more members and make our current members know that they are appreciated. It must be noted that if we had to pay for all the expertise we have in Ford's Colony, the double would nearly double. The budget nearly double. It was close. I want to make sure that we continue to stay on top of these issues. The proffers, the Eagle Construction Project, the CCRC project, as well as the latest concern, the new Zion Baptist Church. All of these are important to the community and should not fall through the cracks. The board worked through a number of issues last year, and in the next few years, there will probably be more unknown issues. In the coming years, with your support, I would like to join my fellow board members and keep us number one. I kindly ask for your vote.
Good evening. I'm George Spaltoff, and I'm a candidate for the board for the 6th time. I've been active as a board member over a period of 12 years because, as you know, we are forced to take a year off. 2 years, 4 years, then a year off, and I can understand why. I've been on the nominating committee, the security committee. I was board treasurer for 8 years. I was board president for a year. I chair a club, and maybe if you can figure out by this time, I really like Ford's Colony. If you read my 400 words in the Talk of the Colony, you know I've been here 18 years. We just moved this past year into my second home, which we built here in Ford's Colony. And moving into a new home and building a new home twice is quite an experience. My wife and I decided this is where we wanted to be. So, my priorities are quite simple. Keep Ford's Colony the premier community in the Williamsburg area. Support increasing home values by keeping assessments as low as possible, while providing excellent activities, excellent maintenance, and excellent opportunities for everybody to be involved in whatever they want to be involved in. All this in a safe and secure community. Coming to completion last year, as Sally mentioned, I chaired a 16-month project where a new managing agent contract was competitively bid, beginning with 12 companies, narrowing it down to 3, evaluating written and oral presentations to a committee of 17 HOA leaders. That's a big committee. One company was even rumored to be wanting to buy our existing company because they too realized that they provide really good service. This new contract, which is an employment contract, is the first one new for the HOA in 11 years. The comment I have singularly remembered from the entire 16-month process was, we have never responded before to an RFP this detailed. It's 56 pages and 150 pages of addendums. That's a lot of writing. Not everyone agreed with the process that I followed as I led the team. But with upfront guidance from the Community Associations Institute, we came to a successful and economically stable contract for 6 years and possibly for as much as 8 years. I'm very proud of that work. Sally, I think, knows how much energy was put into this. And I'm very proud for us and for everybody that was involved. The board faces some difficult issues in 2020. You've heard my colleagues talk about it. Drainage, proffers, CRC, New Zion Baptist Church. And of course, we have to keep this community shining brightly. I'm running because I believe I can help. And I am ready now to help. I'm a fiscal conservative, and that means spend money to keep us premier and to keep us the #1 community. I thank you for coming out this evening. I ask for your vote. I'm dedicated to do my best. Thank you.
I'm Ken Spencer. I'm a candidate for the Board of Directors. You've heard a lot of things already. I want to give you a little reason about why I decided I wanted to be a candidate for the Board of Directors. We came to this community and bought back in 1998 because it was a safe, secure, pleasant, quiet community. And the amenities were there. There were lots of clubs, there's lots of activities. Perfect place to retire. I finally got to retire in 2015 after having commuted back and forth for 5 years after I built the house down here. And again, I still feel that same way about that. So as soon as I got down here, I decided I wanted to get engaged with what the community's doing. I got on the finance committee. I've been on the finance committee for 5 years. I've had an opportunity to be the liaison to the Roads and Property Management Committee, where a lot of the big issues you've been hearing about have been discussed, thoroughly evaluated, and going through. And the one observation I have is I can't believe the amount of talent we have in our community and the people who want to volunteer to make this the premier community it is. I've had a chance to work with the board all the time I was on the finance committee, and they've been an outstanding job of working with the management agent to provide the amenities and fix this community the way that we want to have it so that we keep our property values up. And they've worked very hard to keep the assessments down. They've given strict guidance to the finance committee, and we've worked with it. It's been a great process through it. It's been a lot of work to this, but I'm looking forward to dedicating more time now to working with other volunteers and other experts in all of the committees, the Facilities Committee, Security Committee, Roads and Property Management, and the Finance Committee to continue this effort. And I have to say, I really enjoy, we're running out.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back down?
There we go.
We're on now, okay. I really enjoy working with the experts we have on these various committees. So if you decide to elect me into the board of directors this year, what I promise you is I will work hard with the other board members, with all of the committees, to make the best decisions in your interest. Because that's what this is all about. All of us are up here to represent you and make decisions in your interests that favor you and the community at large. I thank you all for coming out tonight, and I thank all those volunteers that I see out here that I've had the chance to work with for all of their effort to keep our community great. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the candidates. And now we are ready for our Q&A session. This is a chance, as Bob mentioned earlier, you've been there listening and hearing their views, but ask your questions. So we have 2 people from the nominating committee out there, and if you have a question, if you could just raise your hand and we will get to you. Are there any questions? This could be the shortest session that we've had.
Wait a minute.
We got one.
And we made a lot of coffee. All right, here's one right here. Okay.
Hi, my name is Terry Moran. I live in Killarney, been here about a year and a half. So my question to the board members is this. Since I've been here, the first year was like $600 to $700 extra assessment that I got hit with. And this year is the roads and the drainage pipes issue, which is $100 a quarter. And I know that could extend even further depending upon what you learn. Are there any other surprises that you see down the road, number one? Number two, do you ever see that the assessments can actually roll back a little bit? And the third piece of this question, since no one else is asking questions, besides the litany of things that you talked about, what in your view are some of the biggest challenges for us to succeed as a community going forward?
Sally, do you want to start? And Terry, you might have to repeat some of those
I
questions.
apologize.
But we'll
Yeah.
start
What was-
just with the
what was
first
one?
one.
Well, I
Why don't we
I
just
can
go-
answer easily. Do
Yeah.
I see
Assessments.
assessments rolling back? No. Honestly, no. Well, a lot of what we have here in our budget is labor, and labor is not going to be reduced. You have to increase the money you pay people every year. They have to have a living wage in this facility, in this area, and it's not cheap to live in this area, so we have to give them a decent increase. Okay, that's one.
So, but along those lines, when I had talked with some folks in the past, I don't know what percentage of the budget is labor, but there's a constant want list versus what must-do list. And so what I'm thinking is that once we get done with the trail, once we get done with the pickleball courts, once we get done with the other stuff, and we make those capital investments and we're done with that once and for all, is there a way that we can kind of put a limit on our growth in such a way that we can get to a stable assessment going forward?
I will tell you, I probably should have mentioned this, our assessment this year was only 1.89 or 1.9%, and that was because the Finance Committee and the board took a strong stand to say, we want you to go through every line item of the budget, and each committee spent a tremendous amount of time, line item by line item, figuring out what they needed in it. Or we would have had more normally a 3 to 4% increase. So that it is only 1.8 was a lot of work done by a lot of committees. In the future, after we build these things, the problem with anything you build is then you've got to maintain it. And so it's not necessarily going to be next year that you've got to maintain the pickleball thing, but within 10 years you're going to have to put money out again. You have to do that for the tennis courts, and a certain amount is done every year. The swimming pool, every so many years you've got to redo that. So I honestly don't think, there's nothing in my bills, any bills that I'm getting into my household that are going down. I'm not thinking that we're going to have any different luck here, you know. Somebody leaves us money, if any of you want to leave money, Homeowners Association will help it out. Okay, number 3. Any surprises down the road?
So the last two questions, are there any surprises that, it's hard to ask that, and at the same time, what do you think are, from your perspective, what is the biggest challenge facing the board and the community to continue being a premier community?
I don't have I'm a very practical person. I am not a long thinker. So I don't have a real good idea of what surprises might be coming. I think that you have capable people here that can meet whatever challenges arise, and we'll do the best we can. And I've already forgotten the second part. Oh, the biggest challenges we have. Well, you know, currently on a lesser level is to make sure that not a lesser level, but on a level of things that we know is to stay on top of the drainage. And, you know, we have a good plan, but let's make sure we can follow through the plan and we don't get too many surprises. I would say our newest surprise is the Zion Baptist Church, which is going to potentially has an impact on a number of our residents who live in that area because of renovations they want to do to the land they just bought. The overall is always going to be trying to stay on top of the budget and trying to get the most you can for the the money that you spend. And I guess that's how I would answer that. Okay. Can you answer those 3 questions?
I think I got it.
Oh, good. Better than I was.
That's a difficult question for a non-incumbent, but I'll give it my best shot. I can't see into the future, so I don't know about anything that's going to happen. But I do know that because of our managing agent and our committees who are constantly on the path of being prepared, we'll be prepared. We knew about this drainage issue in May of last year, and now it's already being inspected, the pipes are being inspected, and we're gonna have it fixed. We may have less of a problem than we had. So that's a good sign. I can't answer the others because I'm not privy to the board's knowledge.
Thanks, Chris.
Let me answer a couple of your specifics. A little over 60% of our budget is labor. Okay? Pipes is definitely going to be a challenge. We currently know that we have a $1.2 million pipe issue. But that's with only inspecting a little over 40% of the pipes. When we inspect the other 60%, it's possible, as Chris and Sally both said, that it's better or it's worse. That's why the inspection is the first priority. Following that, we will advise everybody as to what we know. Right now, extrapolating it, we're over $3 million. But we need to know specifically. We need to have the cameras put through the pipes. Surprises down the road. We were doing a lot of work in ensuring that our surrounding properties were being monitored. New Zion Baptist Church, that piece of property, was not active. We knew nothing about it until this past October. I have some opinions of what needs to be done to make that good for the neighbors. And that includes buffers and limitation of what can be built in certain areas. Rolling back dues. This year we're doing at 1.9 when our infrastructure said, okay, 2.5% increase for our employees. That's not a big increase. And of course, we are projecting what gas and utilities and everything else will be. We're pretty good at this. This last year, from a $6.5 million budget, we're going to come in within $40,000 positive of the entire budget. That's really good. That's everybody working together. That's what that is. And besides pipe, I think the biggest other challenge is getting our master plan and profits resolved in town so that we can be in charge of our destiny and have a say in it.
We'll do the pass the mic thing. On the Finance Committee, we've addressed this issue of can the budget be reduced. As George said, we see 60% is in labor. And we need to keep the talented people on the management agent that do all that good work out there for you every day, to keep this community great. We need to give them raises that are fair with the cost of living. And the bottom line answer, no, I don't think we'll ever get to reduce it. But I think we have a great team of people between the Finance Committee and the board that look very hard at the budget and keep it to a reasonable level. Make it manageable for our community and nothing outrageous. The big issues, the drainage is out there. Everybody's stated the drainage. We've been there. I've sat in on the RPM meetings where we've actually looked at the pipes and stuff like that. We have a great group of experts in our roads and property maintenance people that understand what happened, probably speculate fairly good why it happened and what needs to be fixed. And they're doing it in a way that they're going to fix only the things that have to be fixed. We found through some other inspections that we actually have some very good drainage out there. You have to understand our infrastructure is almost 30 years old now. So there's infrastructure out there we know and we plan to be replaced. The pipes that came up were not planned to be replaced, but we found them because a problem came up. And then when they started inspecting, they found what the problem was. So I trust those guys. They are experts. I'm constantly amazed at how good these guys are. Biggest issue coming up in the future, as George said, I think the biggest issue is getting the master plan, getting the proffers taken care of. Proffers, for those that don't understand, are agreements that the developer made with the county, that we would do certain things to improve the county as part of being a development here. Some of those were valid. Some of those now are probably need to be changed, definitely need to be changed. And the board and the legal staff that they have at their thing are working very diligently with the county and coming up with solutions that are good for us as a homeowners association, not as a developer, but as a homeowners association. So I expect those will all work their way through. It's gonna take some time. Anything working with the county, they want their piece. And just as an example of it, everybody sees it every day. If you go out and you look at Ford's Colony Drive at Long Hill, that intersection needs fixing. It has some major problems. Part of that is working with the people in VDOT and seeing if we can fix some of the problems so we don't have another accident like we had that destroyed our beautiful sign. So that's part of the problem I think the board's going to face for the next year.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Is there anyone else that has a question?
Could I just add one more thing?
Sure.
George mentioned, and rightly so, that we have done 40% of the pipes, and that came up with $1.2 million. And if you extrapolate, that comes to something in the range of $3.6 million, $3.7 million. I don't want you to think that that necessarily means there's another assessment out there, because we have also, in the reserve, put away $190,000 every year for the next 10 years. So that's going to give you another $1.9 million there, gets you, we are prudently taking care of it. Now, not to tell you that we couldn't find a disaster, and on the other hand, maybe we can find a silver lining, but don't immediately think, oh my God, here comes another assessment.
Do any of the other candidates want to add a few comments? Okay. Are there any more questions? Now's your chance. Okay. Sir, just a minute, we'll bring a microphone to you.
I'm Roger Palace at 100 Stratton.
Hold it a little closer to your mouth.
Okay, better?
Yes.
Thank you. What are the issues regarding Mount Zion Church property that are so impactful on our community? And how do you, what would you propose to do about it?
I'm going to have to defer to a board member, so I'll give it to George.
New Zion has purchased property that backs up to Red Berkshire and Mahogany Run. The preliminary proposal by that community was to put some buildings on a piece of land which is a neck. So if you picture a square, then a neck, then a big piece of property, to put it on that neck area. They've also proposed in the original design in the back to do some sports fields. They submitted this to the county for initial comments, and the county threw up a whole lot of red ink. We have reviewed it. We have come through with our comments. We're encouraging the immediate neighbors to border this property to send in their comments. And I know there's one gentleman who's taken a very active stance on that. My personal opinion is I think the neck is too narrow for any type of construction. That if a road went down the middle of it with sufficient buffers. But part of the issue is because of the elevation of the property. Everybody's going to see it. So we need to work with them to try to limit any type of appearances at that point of the property that would, in fact, cause our properties to decrease in value. let's be honest, this is all about maintaining our positions. The big piece of property in the back, they show a minimal amount of parking, yet they're talking about soccer fields, and they're talking about baseball fields and everything else. I think personally that it has to be worked through much better than it is. We have not seen an actual formal second submittal to James City County yet. I don't believe this is going to go away. So with New Zion, it's to ask and beg, if you will, for some smart development of that property so it doesn't infringe on the values of our adjoining properties. Yeah, that's about it.
I've sat in on a couple of sessions on this. I just want to add one thing. If you go up the Community Services Building, they have plats that you can see what this conceptual design is. And we need to emphasize, this is a conceptual design. This is not any kind of a final design or anything like that. They just put this out to the county to say, hey, if we did this, what do you think? So we're a long way away from them getting approval to do anything, but the board has taken, from my position, prudent action to be engaged right now with the architect that made that conceptual design, to give him our inputs and our concern, so that when he does do some design work for the new Zion Church there, they will at least have that input to it. And again, it's all about maintaining the property values of our residents who are adjacent to that, and maintaining their comfort in the style that they have right now. The current property they're talking about is farmland, so there's nothing out there right now. If you go look at it now, it's just open field, so it's a great buffer that we have right now. So that's why we're concerned.
It's not open field, it's all forest.
Yeah, it's lightly treated.
Likely treated.
The only thing I would add to this is, at this point, they're trying to be good neighbors. They have identified a email address that we can write our comments to, and they are taking our comments seriously. So it's not, there's no adversarial position. One good thing we did with the budget is we have in the budget a new microphone system. Okay, so what I was trying to say was we are not in an adversarial position with them. They're listening to what the neighbors have to say, and have set up an email that we can provide our comments, etc.
If I may. We've been in close contact with the adjoining neighbors in Red Berkshire. Their houses are about 100 to 120 feet from what's going to be the new development, a new road down there. I'm hosting a meeting with those neighbors on Monday here at 2 p.m. and we're going to talk about a concept and where we go forward. It's not in opposition to the development. The church bought the land and they want to expand. They want to add a community center and some camps, I believe they call them, camps for children or something. But what we want to do is go over some of our concerns about, you're going to have sports fields out there. What are the hours? Are you lighting it? I don't, a soccer field and a baseball field and a pool. And what are you going to do to mitigate the sound and sight issues? Because as George mentioned, there's an elevation difference. It's literally, if you stand in your living room and you are one of those residents, you're looking at the base of the road that will be built. So, and we have other issues, little issues like that whole lot drains to our pond in Berkshire. We want to make sure we don't get a lot of sediment and everything to clog up our pond. So, but it's an open meeting, but we've kind of focused it on the people that are most impacted there in Red Berkshire and Moggy Run. But hey, if you're interested, come on and we'll flash the concepts up on the wall and we'll talk about it, because we want to get a kind of a united front that what we can talk to the architect about, that's a land architect, about what concerns and kind of questions that we need kind of answered as you go forward. Because I mean, I liken this to designing a house. Right now, they've said we want to have a house. They don't know if it's going to be a split level, if it's going to be a ranch, if it's going to be 2 stories, how it's going to be oriented on the property or anything. So that's kind of where we are. So we've got to get a lot more information here. 2 p.m. here.
What day?
Monday the, whatever Monday is. 13th. Oh, Monday the 13th. There you go.
Has the board been in contact with any other neighbors? I know. our
We
neighbors
will.
on the other side.
Yeah. There's neighbors on the other side of the neck, yes. They have a homeowners association.
Right.
We hadn't planned to go out to each individual neighbor or anything, but
Well,
They
we
have
have
a
a
home.
connection, we have a connection with our daughter.
My daughter lives on the other side of the
And I'm
property.
sure they want
We-
to,
we'll-
put
yeah,
that together. Yeah.
we will.
Yeah.
And this is, understand, this is a process, and we're gonna outline the process. This is very conceptual. You know, when it comes down to it, they're gonna have to present to the board and the board of supervisors, the planning commission and all that, and there'll be outreach to the communities impacted, our community and their community, that they'll have to make presentations on.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Are there any more questions? Okay, yes, ma'am. We'll get a microphone to you.
Hey, George. My name is Karen Salisbury. I also am at 100 Stratton. And I would like to ask each of you to just share very briefly what unique quality will you bring to the board that is just you, that is yours. Something that not everybody else has, but it's what each of you will bring that we can then use to help discern what's the makeup of the board.
And I'm first.
You're right.
A couple things. One, I have 10 years' experience on this board. Two, I am very, very familiar with how our budget works. I am a fiscal conservative. I am dedicated, or I wouldn't be sitting here. And that, by the way, you can take to heart. Because I get a lot of ribbing from some other people about you're doing what. I make it my special devotion of my energies to make sure I'm current with HOA law. And Virginia changes something every year. And make it my part to know what's going on and to know the details to every one of these issues that you've heard discussed.
Similar with George, my strengths that I bring to the board is the 5 years working with the finance committee, going through all of the financial processes over the last 3 years. We have redone 4 major policies associated. Okay, 4 major policies, associated with finances and our investments and the money we set aside for our future repairs that we have to make. And as it was said before, this last year we went through a significant process on the Finance Committee of working with each of the spending committees that submit budgets to iron out, review, line by line, every budget item to make sure we brought the best value to the budget and to the residents. So that strength of working with all of those and having that relationship with those spending committees and the ability to work with them and advise them and develop compromises and develop priorities on what we need to do to make sure we're spending just what we need to do to keep the standards up. And that's the big thing. We look at it every time is I want to keep the standards up so that everybody comes in here and says this is the best looking community in the Williamsburg area and we want to live here. And this is the safest community in the Williamsburg area and we want to live here because we have the best in all those areas. So that's the talent I bring. Again, like George, I'm dedicated to this. I wouldn't be doing this, you know, unless I really wanted to be a part of this community and work with it. And so I'm going to make sure that what I bring in and working with all of these people, that we together make the best decisions.
Okay, I'm not that unique. However, I do bring a woman's perspective, and that's something this board uses and needs. So I do that. I'll tell you, what we bring is the sum of our past experiences. What we bring is the sum of, thank you, the sum of our past experiences. Where you went to school, where you worked, who you know, how long you've lived here, what other places you've been. But what you have out of all four of us is that we have a desire to work for Ford's Colony. We all are interested in doing the best we can and to continue this for our residents and for the community to act as, words are escaping me right now, it's a strange thing, to represent all of you and to do as good a job as we can to make this place as wonderful as we all see it to be. And we're willing to spend the time to do it. I'm not sure that we're not all that unique. We're all in a similar financial situation. We all came from jobs in the community. We all had children and all that. But we don't have to be unique. We bring good experience to the job. Maybe you are unique.
I don't know. One thing I bring is 10 years of experience working with the management agent as a swim and tennis club manager. So I have 10 years experience working a budget that then went to the board to have to be sliced down. I think I was in charge when they renovated here, when they did the bathrooms, when they did the bathrooms down by the pool. That was all part of my responsibility. I would like to continue that from the other side of the table. And I think my biggest strength is my desire to want to be there.
Thank you. I think we have a question over here.
Jack Vanderlinden, 116 11 Links. A little bit out of the box here for you, but if you had a magic wand, and if there was anything that you could, with one swipe, change in Ford's Colony, what would it be and why?
Boy, you really throw the hard ones out, don't you, Jack? And I get to go first on it. Yeah. It's hard really to say that because I think, excuse me, the board, the management agent, the committees have done a great job of keeping Ford's Colony great. I mean, if I could magically change, I'd like to have all the pipes fixed for no cost. But we know that's not real. Pardon me. Yeah, I think they've done a great job, so that's why I'm here, is because I think they've done a great job, and I think we want to keep it that way.
Okay. With my magic wand, what I'd like to change, I don't know if to change exactly, but I'd like to have somebody leave us a nice-sized piece of property so we could think about future development of perhaps a new community center or other amenities. At this point, is it working? Yes. Yeah, okay. At this, I'm too close?
No, hold it close to your mouth.
Hold it closer, okay. At this point, land is running out in Ford's Colony. We're built out, we don't have any tracts of land to put something new on. We're we slid in bocce ball and we're sliding in a sandbox. There's just limited amount of land that's left for us to develop. And I would love, if I could have this magic wand, I'd love somebody to leave us 25 acres or something nearby that we could expand for the future.
If I had a magic wand, I don't think I'd change too much. Ford's Colony is a wonderful place to live. They're very much attuned to getting the job done every day, day after day. The managing agent works well with the board to make sure that we keep things together. And there's so many key people who are volunteers that are busy working towards getting us straight and making us see what has to be done, that's what I think is the best.
I get to be last on this one. Expound. What they all said, and I would like to have us, the HOA, in charge of our master plan. That way, we have a say in our destiny. We can have a strong say on what goes on around us. There are undeveloped properties that are parts of Ford's Colony. Some are part of the HOA, some are just part of the master plan. We right now, because of the developer basically being no longer a business entity, this master plan is hanging out there. We need to work through these properties and we need to take control of that so we can in fact control our destiny for what's around us in this community. I'm not at least bit doubtful about that, by the way, how important that is to this community.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Oh, I see one right over here. Sally, you'll be first.
I'm John McCookie. We live on Dogleg Drive. I had a question about the construction on Long Hill Road. I was wondering what you guys thought about the short-term and longer-term implications of that project.
Yeah, good one. I don't think I have a whole lot of opinion on that. I have an opinion that I did not think necessarily having a traffic circle is the best thing that ever could have come to Long Hill Road, but they didn't ask me, nor have they asked me about their plans. I do know that you can go to VDOT and you can sign up for ongoing notices about what work they're going to be doing and when they're going to be doing it. But the bottom line is I don't really, I'm the kind of person that looks at it, I guess I would stick my head in the sand. I looked at it and thought the number of lanes of traffic that they had there, that currently have, looked just wonderful to me, and I'm not really ecstatic about having a super highway now out front of our building. But once again, VDOT doesn't ask me for advice, unfortunately.
I think that the board and the managing agent, again, is keeping everyone up to date with what's going on out there. And they give us bi-monthly reports so that we can at least know what's going on. As Sally said, they didn't ask us what we wanted, so we didn't have any say in it.
Phase 1 is on the books, it's being constructed. It gets 4 lanes to just a short distance past the intersection of Old Town Road. Phase 2 and Phase 3 are concept plans at the moment. They are not budgeted, hence there's no activity. I personally think, coming from New Jersey, a traffic circle is absurd because in New Jersey they put them in and 10 years later they took them out. And a 3-sided one makes no sense to me at all, but that's, that's stuff I don't understand. Sally's right. What we've moved is the congestion about 3/4 of a mile in one direction. We haven't solved the problem because most of that traffic's trying to get towards Centerville. Phase 3, 4 lanes all the way to Centerville, would be a great improvement, but that's not probably in my lifetime. I also am a little concerned about the cost of this 3/4 of a mile. When you can compare it to the cost of what they're doing on 64, they're doing 10 miles every 2 years. We're going to take 2 years to do a 3/4 of a mile. So there's a little bit of concern there about how our tax dollars are being spent.
Now, I, along with the 3 others here on the panel, have the same opinion about it. Again, they didn't ask us. As George said, phase 1 is the only part that's being done. We're seeing the construction out there. We'll be seeing the construction for a while. It'll be a nuisance to all of us that go out Williamsburg West or use Long Hill Road. So we'll have to
News and turn left.
go to, yeah, news and turn left. That's the solution. In the long run, they have a plan, and we'll end up living with it. But what I've seen is, as George said, the management agent, the board of directors is proactive about going out there, seeking information, and getting information to you, so you know what's going on. They've also been proactive about engaging where they can to make sure that that construction does not in any way hinder our access to Ford's Colony. So I think they've done a great job with it. We'll see how it goes. I don't like traffic circles either.
Can I just say one quick thing? Sure. My reference, by the way, was there's a traffic light in the very beginnings of construction at the intersection of Centerville and News. That intersection, so far this week, all they've done is put up signs to tell you that it's coming. That was originally proposed as another traffic circle. We were pretty vocal about that. They changed their mind, and it is now a traffic light with a couple turn lanes. So I was not joking when I said, go out Firestone and turn left. There'll be no construction that way.
Any other candidate comments on that subject before we take another question? Okay. Terry?
So you bring up a real interesting point in that this community is, what, 2,500 homes, about $12 million in tax revenues to James City County in real estate taxes. And don't take this, I'm not saying anything, I'm not trying to throw any shade on anybody, in that we're kind of reactive to, or, you know, things happen around us. Do you see an opportunity somehow for us, given the tax revenues that we collectively provide to the county, that they would listen to us a bit more and to hear our views so that they would actually adjust their behavior in the benefit of the majority of the community, of the people that live in this community?
You know, I wish you'd ask questions that Ken and I could possibly answer, because we don't know what the heck is going on other than what we hear in the meeting. But I think, again, we'll have to give George and Sally the answer to that, because they're knowledgeable and they get the information.
We have a good relationship with the two supervisors in James City County. We meet with them, they come and talk to us. Unfortunately, these construction projects are the state. James City County supervisors, most of the time, work with us to reach what our goals are, to get and listen to us. I can't say all the time because we got short-circuited on Eagle Construction. I don't think that at that level we could expect more cooperation than we're currently getting. They're sharing with us what's going on, and they're open with what's going on. I also think that you say be proactive, there's an opportunity to be proactive. Right now, the one proactive stance would be to buy up what's around us, to stop it from being bought by somebody else. We are pictured as a big place with deep pockets. And that often goes against our ability to stop or to get involved with the purchase. I have been at foreclosure sales for properties. And I've been outbid because the price they were looking for was to build some type of a business or a community or something else. Our best direction is to make sure whatever goes there does not affect our property. That's the stance we are taking. If there was a small property or something that was reasonably priced or something that we could get, I think this board would seriously consider it. I don't think those type of properties are many around us at the moment. It's people looking, again, at us with a big place with deep pockets and for multiples of what the property is actually worth.
To address what you said is, I think our management agent in a lot of areas that the residents don't see has been very proactive with the county, and they have a very great relationship with the county. From the finance perspective, I've noted that the management agent has gone out the last 5 or 6 years and has been filing and got grants from the county to fix some of our infrastructure, because that infrastructure contributes to the overall drainage plan in the county and also contributes to the cleaning of the water through the county. Our people can tell you we've got 6 or 7 spots where water comes into Ford's Colony, and when they measure the water quality there, it's pretty bad. And there's about 2 spots where it goes out of Ford's Colony, and when you measure the water quality there, it's significantly better than what's coming in. So our area and green spaces, the creeks, and that are doing a good job of helping filter out a lot of the stuff that comes into drainage. And the drainage comes simply because the high part outside is toward Long Hill Road, the low part outside is toward News Road. I mean, everything has to flow through, it all goes downhill. So I think our people work very well with the county. I've seen from the work the board's done and observed that they work very well with the county. And an example is the county, I think, provided us the heads up on this New Zion's Church conceptual plan. So they understand that we're in here and they're working with us. So it's a great relationship, and I think the board will continue that great relationship for the years.
Okay, just a little further about what Ken says. Our management agent, in my belief, has a great relationship with the county. Drew grew up here just about, and the current various people in various different positions are his contemporaries. And he deals with them on a regular basis and has a good relationship. So that's helped us out a lot in staying abreast of what's going on. And young Ryan over there, at least from my perspective, he's young. He has developed a number of good relationships with the county, as well as mentioned by Ken about not only applying for grants, but they recognize him as a straight shooter. So when we want to do something here, they could give us a hard time about drainage ponds or how we handle our parking, but they're willing to work with him on how can we make an adjustment and get it done. And in addition, we have a little benefit when you're talking about future and with the state, is that Drew has been appointed to, and I'm not going to name this committee quite right, but he's been appointed by the governor to the Community Interest Board. Yeah. Is that what's called Community Interest Board, which is trying to set standards for organizations such as ours. So he's in the forefront of what's coming up in legislation and in conversation amongst other states and community interest boards. So we're in pretty good shape for, I don't know of anybody who's on VDOT,
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions before we go into the closing statements? No? Okay. Sally, would you like to start?
I don't really have that much to add to this, what we've already said this evening. You've got 4 great candidates. You've got 4 enthusiastic candidates. You've got 4 hard-working candidates. You have to make the decision. Now, I certainly hope that I'm one of your choices in the decision. The only other thing I want to mention, I was given the job to do this. Before you leave, you were to look at the design boards over in the corner. They're what is being proposed for this room to be redone in the next year. So on your way out, if you wouldn't mind looking at them and just get an idea of what we're going to do.
I want to thank each of you for coming out tonight and listening to each of the candidates for your board of directors, especially me. I would also like to thank the nominating committee who saw something in me and they chose me to be one of the candidates. Each of the candidates tonight made very strong arguments for why they should be elected to this very important position. I hope that my credentials and vision of what I hope to do for you, the residents of Fort Conley, will let you cast your votes for me. I can promise each of you, nobody will work harder for you to keep Fort Conley the premier multi-generational community that we all love.
I have to echo that comment. Thank you for being here. I really wish this room was standing room only. That would show me a little bit more interest, plus I think we could recruit some volunteers from it. By the way, we need volunteers.
Thank you, George.
Fort Colony is a great place to live. I've been here 18 years, I don't want to move. I'm running because I want to keep the community getting better. I want to keep my home prices going up. And I want to make it fit for all generations. We have a lot of young kids at the school bus stops. I love it. I sincerely ask for your vote. I want to keep doing what I do.
Again, I want to personally thank all of you for coming out. I know you got other things you could be doing tonight. You show an interest in Fort Colony, and that's great. I think that's what we need, is to have our residents interested in Fort Colony. We have a lot of very talented people out here, and those that have time, I encourage to come out and volunteer, as I have for the last 5 years and wish to continue doing as a member of your board. But I'm very encouraged at where this community is going, and I want to keep it going in that direction. So the last thing I have to say is please go out and vote. Encourage all your neighbors to vote. You can see this thing online and find out more about us. But the big thing is, let's get more people out and vote. George says 42% or up to 42%. God, I'd like to see at least 50% of our community cast votes. It shows that they're engaged in our community, and that's what it'll take to keep this community as good as it is. And it's great. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the attendees, everybody coming out. Thank you to the candidates. Thank you also to Drew and Sally and Jenny and Audrey, and also members of the nominating committee that have worked all year long for this Meet the Candidate session and on the slate. So I just want to also remind you, electronic voting ends at noon on January 31st. So tell your friends and neighbors and everybody vote. And thank you again. Good night.